fix this. Really good morning with microphone. So my name is still Kate McDowell, and it is still a joy to serve as the worship associate and welcome you here today. I invite us to take a deep breath and center ourselves with these words by Reverend Kathleen McTeague that call us together. You who are brokenhearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful, who live with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is a sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in. You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in. This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer in love. Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose. Come, let us gather. A flaming chalice has been a symbol of Unitarian Universalists for many decades, and we join our siblings in faith each Sunday by lighting our chalice here in the sanctuary. For those joining us online, I invite you to light a candle or chalice in your own space as we share these words by John Trudell. We're going to do our best, and we'll light something.
Figured it out.
Fantastic. We already have one thing lit, so we could always, great. All right, so our words by John Trudell. Mother Earth embraces her children in natural beauty to last beyond oppressors' brutality. As the butterfly floats into life, we are the spirit of natural life, which is forever. The power of understanding, real connections to spirit is needed. Our resistance, our struggle, is not sacrifice lost. It is natural energy properly used. And now please rise in body or spirit for our opening song, number 1020, Moyane.
Close enough. Good improvisation, all right? All right, good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are a church of many different ages, bodies, genders, histories, theologies, and identities, united by our shared commitment and our mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. I am Julia Cronin. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am a member of the worship team, which is recruiting, by the way. So you can find me or Carrie here after the service if you're curious. Whether you are in the building or watching online, I welcome you into this sacred space and give a special welcome to new guests who are joining us today. You are invited to fill out a visitor card in the entryway here so we can stay connected. And to all of you, I hope this service brings you something that you need. If the sanctuary is feeling crowded, anyone is welcome at any time for any reason to watch the live stream in Fellowship Hall across the entryway. The space is great if you just need to stretch your legs or get some wiggles out. And everyone is invited to Fellowship Hall after the service for our time of kinship, conversation, and most importantly, coffee. We are a congregation of all ages, which means we acknowledge our kids' right to be bored and squirrely. But if you need to move around or grab coloring supplies from under the lanyard table out here, please do so at any time. Kids are welcome to stay here in the sanctuary for the entire service, or they may head down to their RE classrooms after the time for all ages. Our nursery is open now for little ones under 6. Additionally, we are living in endemic times, so some folks here may be choosing to mask or to socially distance. Please be aware and respectful of others' needs and boundaries. Finally, let us acknowledge that we worship on land that was stolen from the Kaskaskia, the Miamia, the Osheti-Shakawan, the Kikapwa, and the Peoria. It was first stolen by the American government in 1803, but the machinations for that theft were put in motion long before that. It was stolen by the weaponization of poverty, by germ warfare, by starvation and the destruction of crops and homes, by political sabotage and government coups, by the targeting of civilians, and all of this under the guise of legality and civility. It is not enough to acknowledge that a land used to belong to another people, or even that it was stolen from them. It is not enough to say their names as if in memoriam, as if they are not living in exile today within our own country's borders. A land acknowledgement is meaningless if its ultimate goal is not the sovereignty and repatriation of the land's rightful stewards. And I hope, and thank you. I hope you will join me in supporting that long-term vision for our land. All right, so now everyone take a deep breath. Take it out. All right, now is the part of our service where we acknowledge that us grown-ups up here like to go on and on and on, and there's probably some people here who are really bored and sick of it. So I would like to welcome all of our young folks up to the front, and especially if you were in my class last week, I've got some stuff for you here. So come on up. All right. I see one of you. And if you weren't in my class, you will still get a chance to participate, don't you worry. All right. Where's yours to go? There's yours. All right. So, Amelia was too. So my RE classroom, which is the 4th through 8th grade class, last weekend we were discussing here. You can go through these and find yours. I know yours is over here because you had a lot to say. We were discussing the concept of interconnectedness and the idea that we are not just interconnected with the people physically around us, but we are also interconnected with people over time. The people that are going to come after us and the people that came before us. And I asked my class, to draw something that they want from the future that you are building for them. And anyone who's got their picture and wants to explain it, let's form a line. Let's pretend to be civilized. All right. All right, Julia, you want to go first?
My sign shows a picture of the pride flag and a few people putting it in their hands together. It has a little peace symbol in it. Yeah, and a little flower coming out on top. And it says, to not have a worse life if I ever go outside of what the public accept as is normal.
Thank you, Amelia. That's really good. All right. Theo, you look ready.
Mine is about no more war because there's so many wars going around in our world, and I think our world would be much better if we had no.
Thank you. I agree. Anna, do you want to go? No? Asmi or Sophie? All right, come on. You have a speech, so everyone get ready.
Seeing that we're getting a new president, it's going to be a big chance, and showing, aka telling y'all that it's going to be a big step back for women. And just telling people about this will help women. Will help women a lot. Showing here how I have a little picture. Showing here I have a little picture. We have to give women a chance. Not just making them our servants, and I know my words won't affect everyone. It affects me, and that's all that matters. Showing people what we can give is real willpower. So women, stand up for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. All right, Asmi? We have someone with a very orange complexion being held accountable for some crimes, I believe is what this is depicting. All right. And then for those of you who weren't in my class, does anyone have something that they want from the future that they want to share?
I want world peace.
Yeah. Peace. That's no pressure. Do you guys have anything you want from the future? Snacks? I think we can do that. Yeah? That's okay. That's okay. But there are some expectations brewing for you, so keep these guys in mind. And at this point, I will welcome our kids and our REE volunteers to head downstairs to their classrooms, where I know some of you are going to still be talking about interconnectedness. So.
So we move to the time for our Joys and Sorrows blessing song. When we gather each week, we carry our whole lives with us, and it is an act of spiritual generosity to share our joys and sorrows in community. So we will begin with a ritual of placing stones that will sink and petals that will float in the bowls of water here on the table and back there. While we sing our blessing song, May the Long Time Sun. You are also invited to submit a written joy or sorrow on the cards you'll find in the pew rack, or submit them via email to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Please bring your cards to the chalice table or pass them to an usher, and we will read them later in the service. Kiri specifically will do that. I invite us now to come forward as we begin to sing. We live our mission in this congregation in many ways. Building community means holding space for our joys and sorrows, and also connecting day to day and week to week through the opportunities both within and beyond our congregation. We invite you to subscribe to and read our weekly e-news and stay up to date on all of the activities offered through our REE program and our social action councils. This morning, I know we have another person who's going to come up and highlight one thing, and while they're getting ready to do that, I'll just mention, please join us for coffee, conversation, and cornbread on Thursday, November 28th, Thanksgiving Day, from 10:30 a.m. to noon in Fellowship Hall. We will have a casual time to gather, share warm bread, and deep gratitude for our church connections. Do you want to do one more? Feel free, yeah.
Just a reminder that we have the last session in the Inquirer series today after church at 11:45 in the back of the sanctuary, and today's topic is pastoral care. So if you're new to the church and want to know more about how you can get involved and what that encompasses, please join us.
Thank you, Cindy. And read more details about these and other events in our ENUUs, and check out the full calendar of events in the Realm app too. So, generosity each Sunday. In recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. Our shared offering partner for November is the Midwest Soaring Foundation, which is a Native American 501c3 not-for-profit organization whose mission is to work toward repatriation, protect sacred sites, educate the public, and promote community building among all people regarding indigenous livelihoods. You can give by text or through the online portal on our website, or if you are here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed, and checks can be made out to UUCUC, and in the memo put shared offering. Half of what you give will go towards sustaining the work of this church. The other half will go directly to our shared offering partner. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you. This is also the time to submit a written joy or sorrow.
Our generosity comes in many forms, and we're grateful for all the ways we each give to this community. We'll now make space for our spiritual generosity and share our joys and sorrows. If you still have a card to pass, please bring it forward now. First, a sorrow from Elisa Bushkirk. Absolutely gutted that my father-in-law, Adam, is gone at the age of 64, but so grateful that I was able to be with Duncan and the rest of his family as Adam passed. He was surrounded by love from us and music from the Grateful Dead. Oh, I think this says Carl C., but I may be wrong about that. Sorry, I can't read the handwriting quite. Happy birthday to Jerry Carden and Pamela Vomwich.
Oh, thank you. This is from Lynn Wiley and Shan Bashirs. A joy. Neil Bashir, Sam's younger brother, who lived here the last 6 years, is on his way back to France to be with his family. We are full of joy for him. From Dr. Beth Simpson. Last Thursday was the 3rd post-stroke anniversary. We got together, yes, and celebrated. No cane, airplane, PTO, friends. Just checking to make sure. All right. I think that's all we have for today. If I missed any, I'm sorry, and we will hold you in our hearts.
All right. Let me reorganize myself. All right. So your order of service is that I'm up here to tell you the story of Thanksgiving. And you may be thinking, what the heck does that have to do with the topic of today's service? Well, the Thanksgiving story that is normally told in this country is one that's from a very specific point of view. But from another point of view, Thanksgiving is a story about the end of the world. One of the people for whom Thanksgiving was a story of apocalypse is probably pretty familiar to you. His name was Tisquantum, but the English called him Squanto. Our story begins in a place called Patuxet, which was a prosperous agricultural community on the eastern coast of this continent, warmed by ocean air. It had a long growing season, and the people there grew enough food to eat and to trade. And its people were a part of the Wampanoag Confederation, a powerful nation that still exists today. The geography that gave Patuxet its wonderful climate also brought Europeans to its shores. Many villages were trading with the Europeans, though everyone was cautious of them. They tended to overstay their welcomes. They could be unexpectedly violent. And they had terrible hygiene that caused disease. The Patuxet, at the time our story starts, had mostly good interactions with European traders, though, and they'd actually just done a very favorable deal with a colleague of the next ship to land on their shores. The English captain invited a large group of them onto his ship on a nice day. Once they were aboard, however, the Englishmen tried to force them down into the hold. When the Patuxet people resisted, the English opened fire. It was a massacre. The survivors, including our Tisquantum, were forced below deck. We don't know too much about what Tisquantum endured in Europe, but we know that some of his fellow captives, probably friends and family of his, were sold into slavery in Spain. Tisquantum was taken by the Catholic Church there, forcibly converted and made to labor. He escaped by stowing aboard a ship, like the one that had taken him in the first place, and he was no doubt hoping that it would take him back across the ocean, and was no doubt disappointed when it took him to England instead. Still, he kept his mind set on getting home to his people. He ingratiated himself to a shipbuilder, worked for him, learned the local language, all the time scheming to get home, and after years, he convinced the man to let him get on a ship back across the Atlantic so he could finally return home. He was a young man, and he'd been away for 5 years. After a long journey at sea, when he landed on the shores of Patuxet, there was no one there. The houses were empty or filled with unburied bodies. Everyone he had ever known and who had ever known him was gone. They were all dead. In the 5 years that he was away, the world ended. He traveled inland, and he found a few huddled survivors who didn't know him. And they called for the Sachem, the Wampanoag political leader, who came and explained that the Patuxet had all died in a plague. I should note here that Tisquantum was not his given name. It was a name that he chose for himself, and we don't know when he adopted it, but I like to think that it was then, when the Sachem told him what happened, and in the depths of his grief, asked him what his name was. Because Tisquantum, loosely translated, means the wrath of God. And maybe that was why the Wampanoag kept him as a prisoner. They didn't trust him. They said he was too disconnected, he had been in Europe for too long, and he had too much rage. After this comes the part of the story that you are probably familiar with. A ship full of pilgrims, who were religious extremists, landed on the coast and called their new home Plymouth. They built it on the ruins of Patuxet. Tisquantum, who was a valuable interpreter no matter his other political issues, served as a liaison between them and the Sachem. He stayed with them, and when they struggled to farm in their new environment, he showed them the farming techniques that his own people had used on that same land. It's easy, I think, to let the story become a sort of last of the Mohicans, fetishized American rite of conquest, the last of a dying race, graciously conceding the future to the next. Why else would he give aid to the people desecrating his family's graves? But here's another part that doesn't get told. Tisquantum, he was a schemer. In all that time, he was garnering favor with the pilgrims and feeding them misinformation. He was telling them that the Wampanoag were going to attack them. And then he was leaking information to the Wampanoag, telling them that the pilgrims wanted to invade further inland. He had gathered those other Patuxet survivors too. See, he was furious that the Sachem was still trading with the English after what they did to Patuxet. The people that kidnapped him, that enslaved his brothers, that brought their filthy plagues to this land, and he wanted to play them against each other. And once the pilgrims had killed the Sachem, Tisquantum wanted to stage a coup, take his place, and rebuild Patuxet on the ashes of Plymouth. His plans were foiled once, but he took shelter with the pilgrims who didn't quite grasp the politics at play. They granted him asylum, and he kept plotting. In 1622, Tisquantum died suddenly, probably of the same plague that killed the other Patuxet. He died angry, I imagine, but he died scheming. He died still hoping to revive his culture from utter apocalyptic devastation. And somehow all of this got twisted into their story, something culture-affirming that we tell children about the friendly Indian that taught the pilgrims how to plant corn. But this week, this Thanksgiving, let our Thanksgiving story be his story, the story of Tisquantum, living after the end of the world. And now I would like to welcome a wonderful poetic voice up here to read a poem that I think really speaks to our moment in a voice that I think speaks to it even more. Come on up, Alyssa.
Good morning. Hope is not a bird, Emily. It's a sewer rat, by Caitlin Seda. Hope is not the thing with feathers that comes home to roost when you need it most. Hope is an ugly thing with teeth and claws and patchy fur that's seen some shit. It's what thrives in the discards and survives in the ugliest parts of our world, able to find a way to go on when nothing else can even find a way in. It's the gritty, nasty little carrier of such diseases as optimism, persistence, perseverance, and joy, transmissible as it drags its tail across your path and bites you in the ass. Hope is not some delicate, beautiful bird, Emily. It's a lowly little sewer rat that snorts pesticides like they were lines of coke and still shows up on time to work the next day, looking no worse for wear.
Would you rise and body your spirit to sing 1028, The Fire of Commitment? From the flight of days remembered, burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of a flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and compassion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Thank you so much, Janet. We call that seeing a need and filling a need, because we cannot be left unsupervised with music. All right. I held off on writing this sermon until after the election, and I know Beth and Sally had similar experiences trying to anticipate two radically different paths of needs that our congregation would have, depending on the outcome. In another universe, I would be up here admonishing you all not to grow complacent, to not be content with the state of our society just because we averted the worst case disaster. But that's not the universe we ended up in. How many people, show of hands, in the last few weeks either said themselves or heard others saying that this feels like the end of the world? Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but here's what I want you to take with you today. And it might not sound all that comforting as I first say it, but just hear me out. The world has ended before. For countless people around the world and throughout human history, the world has already ended. It is ending all the time. We are on a continent 500 years into its apocalypse. The possibility of living under fascism, if that is what is coming our way, is terrifying. And I feel that terror. But I also remind myself that most people who have ever lived under autocracy. I found a report that says 42% of countries today have autocratic governments. These countries are the homes of 67% of the world's population. That's about 5,477,373,359 souls, give or take, who are living in this thing that we are so afraid of. And many of them are struggling, yes. Many of them are fighting to free themselves. Many did their laundry today. Many are trying to decide what's for dinner or spending time with their families. Many are falling in love. And many of them are wondering if it's going to rain. The thing about the end of the world is that historically it doesn't actually end. When I think about Tisquantum, I think to myself that his plans didn't fail. 402 years after his death, the Wampanoag are still here. There are still people living who know that Plymouth's real name is Patuxet. Just yesterday, my friend Wendy Hartley forwarded me a statement from the Native Organizers Alliance. They said, "From the Pueblo Revolt of 1680 to the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876, to the occupation of Wounded Knee in 1973, to the election of the first Native woman to Congress in 2018, to recent struggles to protect salmon, we will never stop the long walk towards sovereignty and fulfillment of our treaties. We have persevered during many attempts to eradicate and silence us, and we will continue to fulfill our ancestors' hopes and dreams." Apocalyptic stories so often depict people who can't or won't look beyond their immediate needs and security. But the truth is that apocalyptic times, more than any others, call for long-term vision. They call us to remind ourselves that we are not the end of human history. We are not the great final battle or the happily ever after where all is resolved and peace is found forever after. That's ego talking. It's just ego. Human beings have existed for the geological blink of an eye. We are at the very beginning. So I ask you not to despair if you feel like your hopes and dreams for the future can't be realized in your lifetime, or even in your children's lifetimes. Let us be architects and foundation builders. Let us be tree planters, knowing that we may never stand in the shade. Let us be schemers, remarkable enough to survive in stories so that even if history is rewritten by our oppressors, someday someone will look back and ask, what did it look like from their point of view? Let us stop worrying about where the world ends and keep our eyes and our hearts on where it can go. May it be so, and amen.
speechless and feeling so deeply grateful to be in a room with people who can see the possibility of working for things we may not live to enjoy ourselves. So we extinguish today our chalice with these words that we usually recite together, do as you will. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. It is my great honor to introduce Julia and Brittany for our closing song, This Land Is Your Land.
We just dropped some heavy stuff on you, so let's pick ourselves back up. This is a sing-along.